All right, so today we're going deep on Amelia Earhart. But not just the usual greatest hits. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone knows about, the famous flights and the tragic ending. But we're digging into some lesser-known stories.
Yeah.
Some really cool quotes that really give you a sense of her personality and her impact. I've got some great articles, some videos, and even some information from a museum dedicated to her.
Oh, wow.
So,
It's amazing how much there is to discover. Beyond just kind of the service level stuff.
yeah, and even just thinking about her childhood. I mean, this is a woman who was climbing trees, hunting rats as a kid. Like,
Fearless.
yeah, fearless. Does that suggest that, this love of adventure was always kind of there,
I think
just
so.
waiting for the right outlet?
I mean, think about her family, too. They went through some tough times financially. Her father struggled with alcoholism. And that kind of environment, I think, can really foster, independence and this drive to kind of forge your own path.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have that moment in 1920 when she experiences flight for the first time. One of the sources I read described how her heart felt like it would spring right out of her chest. Talk about a life-changing experience.
Wow, yeah.
Did she, like, map out her whole piloting career right then and there?
Not exactly. It seems like she was just really drawn to exciting experiences in general. She was kind of a free spirit, always pushing boundaries. But that first flight, it was definitely a spark
Yeah.
that ignited something big.
So she buys her first plane, this bright yellow Kinner Airster, nicknamed the Canary, starts setting altitude records. But here's the thing. I read that she wasn't considered a naturally gifted pilot. So what set her apart?
I think it was her persistence, incredible bravery, and she never stopped pushing herself. A good example of that is her first transatlantic flight in 1928. She was a passenger, not the pilot.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine how frustrating that must have been for someone as driven as her?
Yeah.
But it just fueled her determination to fly solo next time.
And then, of course, she becomes Lady Lindy, this global celebrity. And, her publicist and future husband, George Putnam, he knew how to build an image.
Oh, yeah.
But not everyone was thrilled. I mean, some people saw her as more showmanship than skill.
Right. Yeah, her fame came with a lot of baggage. I mean, she was breaking boundaries, but she was also facing some pretty harsh criticism, even from other women.
Wow.
It's interesting, though, she never shied away from the controversy. She had a really sharp wit, and she wasn't afraid to defend herself and her achievements.
I came across this quote. She said, "Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be but a challenge to others."
Powerful.
Yeah, and you really see that strong will.
Absolutely. And speaking of strong will, her independent spirit really shines through in her relationship with Putnam, even before they were married. Remember that letter she wrote to him?
Oh, yeah.
I shall not hold you to any medieval code of faithfulness to me, nor shall I consider myself bound to you similarly.
Wow.
Setting the record straight?
Yeah, that's pretty radical for the 1930s.
It is.
She was determined to live life on her own terms, in the air and on the ground. Which leads us to her final, and sadly most famous flight, the attempt to circumnavigate the globe.
Ambitious undertaking,
Yeah.
a state-of-the-art Lockheed Electra plane, meticulously planned route, really pushing the limits of what was possible at the time.
And it wasn't exactly smooth sailing even before that final leg. I mean, there was a near crash in Hawaii that required extensive repairs. A couple of crew members dropped out, and then Amelia got dysentery in Papua New Guinea. At what point do you just say, okay, maybe we need to rethink this whole thing?
Well, remember, Amelia thrived on risk. Rethinking things wasn't really in her vocabulary.
Yeah.
So on July 2nd, 1937, they took off from Lae, New Guinea.
And then those increasingly desperate radio transmissions until finally, silence. It's cheering to read her last confirmed words, "We must be on you, but gas is running low."
There was a massive search effort, ships, planes, everything, but the Electra and its crew just vanished. Amelia and her navigator, Fred Noonan, officially declared lost at sea.
And that's when the theories start swirling. Did they run out of fuel? Did they land on Chamorro Island? It's just this tangled web of possibilities. And the lack of conclusive answers, it just adds to the intrigue,
It does. It really does.
doesn't it?
We have these intriguing pieces of the puzzle, improvised tools, clothing fragments, but nothing definitive.
Yeah.
It's almost like the mystery itself is a part of her legacy.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It is.
Really is.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how, even after all these years, her story still just captivates us.
It really does.
But, her impact wasn't just about those daring flights. I mean, she was a strong advocate for women's rights, pushing back against societal norms. She even worked as a career consultant and a technical advisor at Purdue University.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that she was a complex person
Yeah,
with, all these different interests and talents.
absolutely.
And when you look at some of her quotes, you get a real sense of her values. and just her general outlook on life.
There's one that really resonated with me. The most effective way to do it is to do it.
Oh, I love that one.
It just seems so simple, but it really sums up her whole approach, right?
Totally. She was all about action,
Yeah,
getting things done,
yeah,
not just talking about it.
exactly.
Which, actually, that makes me think of another one of her quotes. Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace.
Hmm. What do you make of that one?
Well, it makes me think that she understood that, true peace, that sense of fulfillment, it comes from pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone,
Right.
facing your fears.
Yep.
It's not about playing it safe. It's about embracing the challenges that life throws at you.
Yeah, she certainly didn't shy away from challenges, from those early solo flights to those transatlantic journeys. I mean, she never let fear hold her back.
No, she didn't. And speaking of challenges, we talked about the tough conditions on that final flight, the near crash in Hawaii, but some sources also talk about the controversy surrounding the navigation setup on the Lockheed Electra.
Oh, right. That bamboo fishing pole
Eh,
that they used to pass messages between the pilot and the navigator. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about,
I know.
relying on such a basic system during such a complex flight.
It really makes you wonder if those communication challenges played a role in their disappearance. And
Yeah.
then there's the debate about whether they had enough fuel, accurate maps. It's like every detail just adds another layer to the mystery.
It's almost impossible at this point to separate fact from speculation.
Right.
But maybe that's part of what keeps Amelia's story so alive.
Maybe so.
It's an invitation to keep exploring, to keep searching for answers.
And in doing so, we keep her spirit of adventure alive.
Yeah.
There's another one of her quotes that really resonates with me, especially when thinking about her disappearance. Anticipation, I suppose, sometimes exceeds realization.
That's an interesting one. It makes you wonder if, even in those final moments, facing unimaginable challenges, if she still clung to that sense of anticipation, that belief that the journey was worthwhile, regardless of the outcome.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It speaks to the human spirit's ability to find meaning, even in the face of adversity.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big part of Amelia's legacy. It's not just about the flights or the records. It's about how she lived her life.
Right.
She was a trailblazer, a woman who defied expectations and charted her own course.
And she encouraged others to do the same. She once said, "Women will gain economic justice by proving themselves in all lines of endeavor, not by having laws passed for them."
There's that action again.
Yeah.
Taking charge.
She believed in demonstrating your worth through what you do, not just what you say.
Exactly. And that idea extends beyond gender, I think. It challenges all of us to push our limits, explore our potential, embrace the thrill of the unknown.
Yeah.
Remember that quote, "Everyone has oceans to fly if they have the heart to do it."
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's such a beautiful metaphor for the challenges we all face.
Absolutely. Whether it's chasing a dream, overcoming a fear, or just navigating the ups and downs of daily life, Amelia's story reminds us that we have the strength to soar above those challenges, to find our own path.
Right. It's about discovering that inner compass, that sense of purpose that guides us through tough times and leads us towards new horizons.
I like that.
Which, speaking of horizons, reminds me of another quote, "No borders, just horizons, only freedom."
It's almost poetic.
It is.
It really captures the essence of her spirit, doesn't it?
It does.
That she saw the world as this place of endless possibility, where limitations were meant to be challenged and dreams were meant to take flight.
Exactly. And she shows us that this same sense of freedom is within reach for all of us. It's a matter of perspective, of choosing to look beyond the boundaries that we often impose on ourselves.
It's a good reminder for sure.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and legacy of Amelia Earhart, I have to ask, what stood out to you most? What resonated with you personally?
For me, it's that combination of her relentless pursuit of her passion, her unwavering courage, in the face of all that criticism, and that enduring mystery that still surrounds her disappearance. It's a story that truly sparks the imagination, and it just leaves you wanting more.
I couldn't agree more. And as we reflect on everything we've learned, I'm left with one final question. What would Amelia Earhart be doing if she were alive today? What challenges would she be tackling?
Oh, that's a question worth pondering. I mean, given her adventurous spirit and her commitment to pushing boundaries, I imagine she'd be at the forefront of exploration, whether it's pushing the limits of space travel, advocating for environmental conservation, or maybe even leading the charge for a new era of aviation innovation.
It's incredible to think about the impact she continues to have, even after all these years.
It makes me want to revisit that museum dedicated to her that we mentioned earlier. I could just picture Those exhibits, those artifacts, those glimpses into her life and legacy. It's a powerful reminder that even though she's gone, her spirit lives on, inspiring us to reach for the stars.
And for anyone listening who feels that same pull, that same yearning for adventure, I encourage you, seek out those places where Amelia's spirit is kept alive. Visit a museum, read her words, delve into the history of her flights. It's a journey of discovery that's sure to ignite your own sense of wonder.
So on that note, my Soto deep divers, we've reached the end of our Amelia Earhart expedition. I hope you've enjoyed this flight as much as I have. It's been a true privilege to explore the life of this remarkable woman. And I have to say, I'm feeling a bit more fearless, a bit more adventurous, and definitely a lot more inspired.
And remember, the sky's the limit. Keep exploring, keep pushing boundaries, and never stop reaching for your dreams. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll be the subject of your own deep dive.
Until next time, happy flying. Yeah, it really is amazing how, after all this time, her story still speaks to people.
It really does.
I bet if she were here today, she'd be blown away by how much aviation has changed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine supersonic jets, space tourism, drones delivering packages?
It's mind-boggling.
But I think what would fascinate her most is that spirit of innovation that's still driving the industry forward.
Yeah, I mean, she was all about pushing the boundaries, right?
Absolutely.
I think she'd be right there on the leading edge, encouraging us to reach for new horizons, literally and figuratively.
You got it. As we've been talking, I keep thinking back to that quote, "No borders, just horizons."
Yeah,
It really sums up her worldview, doesn't it?
it does.
That idea that limitations are self-imposed, and this true freedom comes from breaking free from those constraints.
It's a powerful message,
It is.
especially, in today's world. It's so easy to get bogged down by the day-to-day grind, to lose sight of that sense of adventure and possibility.
Exactly. But Amelia's story, it reminds us that we all have the potential to be explorers, to chart our own courses, to live lives that are meaningful and fulfilling.
Yeah, I love that.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay.
Think about what oceans you want to fly over in your own life.
Hmm.
What dreams or goals have you been putting off? What fears have been holding you back?
Yeah.
Channel a little bit of Amelia's spirit, embrace the unknown, challenge those limitations, and just see where your journey takes you.
It's good advice.
It is. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be inspiring others with your own incredible story.
I like that. Well, that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the life and legacy of Amelia Earhart. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine.
Until next time, keep exploring.